to bed. 'Cause we all feel the same kind of pain. Celebrate when you fight off the shame. Feelings like the weather, but hold on to me, brother. Try this instead. I'm carrying peace and love that ain't very hard. Spreading that peace and love that ain't very hard. Even without a name, we are two the same. Peace and love. And we must belong to something now. We must belong to something now. It's bigger than us. Something to trust, or at least hold on to. What can I hold on to? I'm carrying peace and love that ain't very hard. Spreading that peace and love that ain't very hard. What can I hold on to? I'm carrying peace and love that ain't very hard. Spreading that peace and love that ain't very hard. Even without a name, we are two the same. Peace and love. I'm carrying peace and love that ain't very hard. Spreading that peace and love that ain't very hard. Even without a name, we are two the same. Peace and love. I'm carrying peace and love that ain't very hard. Spreading that peace and love that ain't very hard. Even without a name, we are two the same. Peace and love.
And hi, I'm BK. Obviously, if we are friends, you know that. If we are not friends, don't be a stranger. Wherever I am popping up on your radar, just add me as a friend. I am testing out live streams. While this is not a solely tech show, I do have certain tech components involved. So I am also testing out live stream platforms so that you can benefit. I do the testing so you do not have to. And so just add me as a friend wherever you are seeing me now, right? So I'm kind of testing it to a few platforms just for good measure, right? So, and do drop a comment because yesterday I noticed that some friends were dropping comments, but somehow Ecamm Live was not picking up the comments. So if you can do me a favor, just drop a comment in while we are doing this so that I kind of know that I just need to know whether it's working or not working, right? It should be able to come on. Yeah. I'm sorry for the slight delay, as things would have it. Sometimes as you are about to go live, the software says they need to update something before it can go live. So that was what was happening. But it was not Ecamm Live. It was something else that was needed for the show. And it said that it needed to be updated. And that's one of the things that happens, right? And I also now know why people... Oh, yes. Thank you very much. Hi, Juliana. Thank you. And yes, now it's working. Because yesterday, I know you sent a comment, but it didn't show up during the show. But then I did a behind the scenes test and it was showing up. So, and also now the graphic is a bit wrong. is supposed to only stretch from, let's see, here. It's only supposed to stretch until here. See, so these are some of the things that you can do with this software. It can be done on the fly, which is what I'm doing now. Right? Where's the... Yeah, so you can actually adjust it on the fly, which is one of the good things. And by right, automatically it goes away after about 15 seconds, which is something that is good as well. So thank you, Jules, for helping me to test out this. I did test it after the show and it was working, so not sure why it didn't work yesterday. So once again, I'm sorry for so there was a slight delay because of software updates and so on, but that's the fun thing about life, right? So today, day 52 of a 100-day challenge. Day 52 of a 100-day challenge. Exactly 52 days ago, I told my friends that I'm going to do a 100-day live stream challenge, and obviously many of them said, "Are you crazy?" I kind of agreed with them then, but lo and behold, we are on day 52 of this. So it started with no titles. It started with no graphics. It started with just me turning on the camera and going live, and then just saying that, hey, I'm going to do a 100-day live stream challenge. But along the way, we have gone over many things, and I think it has been a period of growth and learning as well. So that's what I really find has been most beneficial about this journey. And those of you who have been joining me for a few episodes, I really appreciate your presence, and especially those who have given me feedback and so on. But the biggest reward, seriously, is when some of my friends actually said things like, "Hey, I know I'm actually motivated by you to try and do something like this. If you are, please do, because all of my friends, all of you have so much wonderful information and expertise and wisdom that you can share. Don't let it be kept from the general public. Everybody can definitely benefit from some of those things that you can share." So today we're going to talk about 4 steps to good communication. And the interesting thing about all this is that this is part of my end game. I do hope that at the end of the 100-day challenge, I do become a better communicator, a better speaker, a better live streamer, right? It's a thing, right? It's a thing now. And the thing about something I've always believed is that when you share, whether is it in a form of a teaching or a presentation or becoming a speaker, right? You actually learn even more yourself. And I'm going to find that at the end of all these things, while I hope that I can bring value to you, the person that benefits the most would actually be me, because I took the effort to do this, to write the notes, to create the show notes, to do the slides. It has definitely sunk in even more for me, right? So that's why I encourage anyone who has any inclination at all, to want to do a live stream. It will definitely benefit you in many ways, right? So 4 steps to good communication, and we are only going to start on step 1. Okay, we're going to continue this over 4 days. So today we're just going to talk about step 1, which is actually very interesting, right? It's actually very obvious, which is have something good to say. So if you want to be a good communicator, you would want to have something good to say, because interestingly, a lot of things in life, especially success principles, they are not very complex things. They are not very complex things. In fact, it is about doing ordinary things extraordinarily well, right? That is part of the principles of success. And I like what Jim Rohn was saying in this presentation that he did, is that success often is the study of the obvious, or a refined study of the obvious. Many times whatever industry you are in, when you interview the people who have reached the pinnacle of success in your company or industry or whatever field that you are keen on, you will notice that the principles of how they got there are not very, very complex. For example, like 2 of my favorite basketball players, Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, right? if you ask them, or if you look at some of the interviews that are done with them, you notice that they put in whole hard work, right? They are in the gym every day before everybody else. They are practicing jump shots. They are doing the shots more than anybody else. So it kind of seems obvious. And again, something that I really like from Jim Rohn, which is success is actually a series of simple, repeatable steps. But what is easy to do is also easy not to do. And the thing about becoming a better speaker or a better communicator is actually about how to get good at it, right? It's basically about practice. And obviously this 100-day live stream has been a platform for me to practice. And you may not know it, but every time after the live stream, I do reflect a little bit about how I've done and what I'm doing. What can I do better, right? There are days I know I'm rambling. There are days I know that because there are days when I didn't have enough time to do a full preparation. And then there are days I have more time to do full preparation. And there are days when I actually have time to do a little bit of my rehearsal. Those are the days that I actually find that I'm smoother in delivery. My stories are clicking. I'm not rambling, right? So this 100 days is going to be at least 100 days of practice for me. Now, I may not be great after the 100 days, but I'll at least be better than day one, right? So that's how you're going to get good at being a better speaker, and that is to practice. You know, if you want to be better at your jump shots, you have to put in your practice, okay? So the thing is, when we want to, so the reason why the first step is having something good to say is because it's kind of like a computer program, right? If you put nothing in, then nothing comes out, right? These days it's very popular to have these 3D printers. If you're trying to print something and then you ran out of the 3D material content, then nothing is going to come out. So we cannot share what we do not feel, or we cannot share what we have not experienced. And we definitely cannot translate what we have not understood, right? So to be a better communicator, we kind of need to have something to say. We have something to say. Now, I know very quickly when people hear something like that, it will then become like oh yeah, you see, that is why I'm not sharing, or that is why I'm not doing a show like this, or that is why I'm not volunteering to be a speaker in my organization, in my company, in my team, and so on, right? Because I have nothing to share. Now, that is an excuse, because the good news, or maybe bad news to you, is that I was also listening to another speaker, Eric Admits, right? And he says that every single one of us has a story to tell. And of course, story means you are able to communicate, right? As long as you have felt angry, happy, sad, frustrated, any emotion on the spectrum, any emotion at all, right? Miffed, irritated, that human emotion is an experience, is a story you can tell, right? So there is absolutely no way that you have not encountered any of these emotions on a day-to-day basis, right? And one of the good things about Eric Admits is the way he talks about it is that he teaches people to use and leverage on these emotions to share a story and to share effectively, right? To share effectively. So take it as you definitely have something to say, okay? You definitely have something to say. Now, the next thing about... so that was what we were talking about, getting ready and getting prepared, right? So the other thing is... so the other thing about having something to say is we sometimes need to do research. We need to do research. I have consistently found that the speakers I enjoy listening to, or very good speakers, you will notice that they will weave in facts, information, stories, scientific journals, all kinds of things from everywhere. And you can very quickly tell that this person has done his job. his research, right? And therefore, he's able to weave all this content in a way that suits the narrative or suits the content he's trying to share. So sometimes to have something good to say, we do need to do research, right? We do need to do research. And also, the thing is that the reason why we want to do research is because what we know or what we learned from the last decade may not be relevant today anymore. We kind of need to do the research to update ourselves. In fact, these days, I'm kind of thinking that what was relevant last year is no longer relevant this year, right? This year, everything is here, live streams and podcasts and the things about, I mean, if you want to do a blog, you still can, it's still very relevant. But these days, the things about getting attention from blogs, from Medium, from Quora, all these are still relevant places. But the trend has kind of moved to live streams and podcasts and YouTube channels and so on, right? Content creation as a topic, right? It has moved. So if you are in this space, if someone is in this space and you are talking about marketing and content creation, then you do need to do even more research because a lot of things have changed. Right? Even things like how do you make sure that your audio is sounding good? How do you become professional in your cameras and all your effects in the show, for example, right? All these are new things that have popped up over this year, more so than last year, right? So we definitely need to do research. And of course, what I mentioned just now, preparation. Typically, I'm noticing that the days when I have a bit more time to prepare for the live stream, while it is just something that I enjoy doing every day and I look forward to this 10 p.m. time, right? And some days I do also want to kind of just hop on and then it's like a conversation. Like maybe anytime. I mean, I'm free. Please feel free to chat and I'm happy to respond to whatever comments or questions you may have, right? But if the end game is the speaking part or the becoming a better speaker part, then preparation has been very key. I find that the days when I have time to do show notes, for example, like what I'm doing now, I'm looking at my show notes, it kind of flows a little bit better. And, it takes a bit of time to do this as well, right? Something like from this to this, right? So it takes a bit of time. It's not a lot of time. I have a process in place that can make this very fast, but it's just something good for the audience to latch onto, right? Something for the audience to latch onto. So the thing is that we also want to not go through life by accident, right? We want to go through life prepared. So there's this whole idea about preparation is also preparing yourself for the day, preparing yourself for the year, and making sure that you get from the day as much as you get. You don't just get through the day, but you get from the day. So preparation in this sense, preparation for the talk, right? Or the live stream or whatever content you're doing. But at the same time, how you want to go through the day, right? So the day before, the night before, you can be preparing for the next day's activity. The week before, you're preparing for the next week's activity. The year before, you're preparing for. So you live life in a more prepared manner. In fact, I kind of want to share something that is it's kind of like an epiphany for myself. The whole few days of kind of telling myself that, hey, okay, so 100 days end game, be a better speaker, be a better communicator. And then, of course, now I'm doing all these various live streams and I talk a little bit about what I'm learning about it, right? What's the biggest benefit so far? Is that I am finding that, hey, I want to make sure that I'm living a life that is interesting so that I can also do this, So while the intention was to become a better speaker, is leading me to an area whereby I'm telling myself that okay, I better make sure I live an interesting life. You see, so that is the a big benefit I feel, right? So that is how this has become. It was a moment of, yeah, that's actually quite true. Now I want to tell myself that I should have interesting days. I should go and explore more things. I should go out and test new things, so that I have interesting materials to share with the audience, right? Now, then it just means that I just have a more interesting life, right? Or at least I will try more and harder. So that's something that I kind of found very interesting for this part of it. So I kind of overlap on the next part, which is interest, right? So trying to plan the day and live the day, and so that I can get from the day rather than just get through the day. So this is about interest. Of course, because when you do that, then you get new ideas, new impressions, new colors, and new nuances. In fact, because the reason why I picked up the new iPhone 12 Pro is because of the cameras, and my old phone is 3 generations away, so it was time to upgrade. So what happened was, one of the suggestions by Jim as well is that take lots of pictures, because these are one of the things that we can leave behind for future generations, because it kind of documents the life, right? So I was telling myself, hey, I'm going to get out more, going to explore more of KL, so that I can take more pictures, right? So if you have any places that you think I should visit, let me know. I know there are certain restrictions now, but so far so good. So far so good, right? Seems like public transport is pretty okay. They don't really stop you if you're on. And I do like to get around by the MRT and the train system, right? So the thing about the interest that we recommend, or Jim Rohn recommends to develop, is 2 major subjects, which is life and people, right? So develop a sharper interest, a sharper focus on life and people. So some of the things I just said are things that I think can help me, especially when I'm looking through the streets of KL or Malaysia through a lens. I go new places, new sights, new sounds, and so on. In fact, the other day I discovered a place that is near Bukit Bintang called Loyat Plaza. I was telling my friends that that's a very dangerous place for me to go, because so many things that are very tempting, so many tech stuff, so many gear stuff, for gear junkie like me is a very dangerous place to go near, right? So I discovered that place, and it's actually very interesting. I mean, there's so many shops. I didn't know that it was, I've been there before, but that day when I really walked there, I realized that there was so many things, okay? So to say it well, we kind of have to feel it well, to know it well. If we don't experience all these things, we don't find interesting things to do, we don't get it, right? So the next thing is, besides cultivating interest, the next key idea is that we need to train ourselves to be fascinated. It's a bit more than just simple interest, being interested in things. This is being fascinated. So interest means that you are satisfied that something ticks, something works, right? But if you're fascinated people, you will want to know what makes it tick or what makes it work. And I'm sometimes like that as well. So I think I've trained myself a little bit in that thing, right? And ask more questions, right? Ask more questions. So for example, when you meet people, or you're in an industry or whatever industry, you ask questions like, what is the difference between the people who are super successful in your industry and the people who don't do so well, right? In fact, today I also discovered a YouTube channel that is very interesting. This is an author that I kind of liked in the past, but he kind of disappeared from the scene, but he came back last year. And it's a great channel, because he talks about all these things about why people succeed in the industry and why people don't succeed in the industry. Maybe another day I'll share some of his content as well, right? and why do people have the drive to want to do more, and why the people don't have the drive. So if you're just interested in people, you just stop there. But if you are fascinated with people, you actually will want to dive even much deeper into this, right? So when you maintain this sense of fascination, it shows up in your in color, in sharpness, and in life, and obviously it will be very good content for future future talks for yourself, right? So something I started doing these few days is I downloaded an app called My Mind, Mind. It is a very simple way to document small little snippets of things, and took a suggestion from Eric Admits, who says that, you just, if you think of or remember a story or an experience you had, just type a line that says that, what is the story, and then don't describe it, just say what was the story, because when you try to tell the story from recollection, from experience, it's much better. So I've started to document a few stories already that just happen to come to mind because of this new exercise, which is actually very fun, right? So this is a very interesting challenge for you, those of you who are watching, right? Experiment for you to try. Next time you are feeling frustrated, right? If you're in a situation you're feeling frustrated, see if you can turn it into fascination, right? So it's an exercise on how to turn frustration into fascination. Now, it's a good skill to try to learn. Like for example, there was a time when I was in China, and I was with a good friend from Italy. We were rushing to catch the high-speed rail back to where we came from. But unfortunately, we were caught in traffic and it was not moving, right? But because it was a new place, I was just fascinated. I would have been frustrated most of the time because I'm quite sticky about time, right? But this time round, I tried to tell myself, okay, well, I mean, we missed it. We just had to buy another ticket. But because we were in a new place, we were in a city called Jilin. That was my first time there. So I took the time to just look around and observe the people and all the sights along the way, right? So that was the thing. Now, but what was interesting is that I also, because of this experience, I learned something about the China railway system. Turns out that you buy one ticket, you can actually retime the ticket one time for free. So apparently, I guess there are many people like us, who miss the trains and they have to then catch the next one. So it is actually a free one time, So let's say your train was at 2 when you missed it, right? You can retime it to the next one for free. They'll just change the date of your ticket for you, right? So that's for China. That was then. I'm not sure whether it still works now. If you visit China and then you try this and it doesn't work, don't blame me. But so maybe check in advance, right? But what I discovered through this experience was that was how it worked, and I was impressed, right? I was thinking that I would probably have to spend some money to buy another train ticket, right? But apparently, I guess that's something that they do in China, which is good, right? So, but of course, this habit or this exercise of trying to, when you meet something very frustrating and you try and find a fascinating aspect of it, right? It might not work every time, right? Nothing works every time. But if it works, right, then you have gotten extra value from that incident, right? And interestingly, if in a frustrating experience, right, let's say, another experience in China is that if you catch any of the flights after noon, after 12, or especially the evening flights, there will always be delays. So in such a frustrating experience and you smile and you're happy and you're jovial, the people around you might be wondering what is going on with this person, because I have seen many times, and I don't blame them, quarrels and fights and arguments literally breaking out in those scenarios, because I think people are tired, they just want to get home, and sometimes the delays, especially if you take any flight in the late evening, there's always delays. It can be up to 2-3 hours, and it's very frustrating, right? And so the poor airline crew, they are always the ones who suffer because they're always the ones who get scolded. It's not their fault, but they get scolded, right? So sometimes it's unfair, but I guess it comes with the territory, right? So next time you ever caught in that situation, well, try and turn it into fascination, and maybe you could do something nice for the airline crew, or the reception, the frontline staff, so that they feel better. They don't get, because they're definitely not going to get it from other people. I can guarantee you that, right? Next is sensitivity. This is slightly different from the one we talked about another day. This is about sensing or allowing yourself to feel the depths of human emotions from the high to the lows, right? For many parts of my life, I've always been living a more sheltered life because going to a good school. Now, family was not a well-to-do family, but normal. My parents loved each other and the kind of thing, right? My dad was a very hardworking blue collar. My mom stayed at home, cooked wonderful meals for us, and I went to a decent school because I listened to my mom said, study hard. Your dad worked so hard, study hard. So that was what I kind of tried to do, right? Until more recently, then I kind of experienced the other side of human society. But if you want to be able to reach a wider range of people, then you kind of need to find a way to experience both the good and the bad, both the ups and the downs, both the bright and the dark side of society or human nature. And it's not asking you to do it, but at least have a chance to experience it, so that then you have a much greater gamut of experiences to share with people, right? Even beyond something that you have experienced before, right? So if we can do that, then it will show up in our language and communication. So for example, if you do need to talk to a group of people that may not be that privileged, but if you have never experienced anything like that, then you may not come across as very genuine to them, right? So we might need to do that. We might need to experience the dark side of life, right? Because unfortunately, part of life is tragic and part of life is dark, right? So, and also the value of life truly come out and very obvious. It becomes more noticeable when there's contrast, right? When you contrast happiness, then you know sadness. When you contrast light, then you can see darkness, right? And something that I learned from the Chinese, right? This is they have this very popular phrase, 有酒有故事. So sometimes you need to get people to drink before you can hear their stories, right? Good thing I stopped drinking for the past 3 years. Otherwise, I'll probably tell you some fairly interesting stories of the darker side of human nature sometimes. So it's hard to appreciate winning if you have not done some losing, right? So I've done a fair bit of losing for the past few years, so I know how it feels like. It's hard to appreciate success until you have done some failing. I've done that as well, right? So I know exactly how it is like to climb back again, to help someone to get back on his feet again if the person wants it, right? And when you have done some failing, then success becomes a much larger commodity. You appreciate a lot better than that, right? So last one. So the last one is quite in line with research, right? We need to gather working knowledge of things, right? And it can be work. And part of the way to do it is journaling, or like this, right? Because these live streams have become like a video journal of sorts. So And Facebook has this interesting thing where they show you like what happened a year ago, what happened 10 years ago, what happened for as long as you have been on Facebook. So because of you being on this social media platform, sometimes they kind of become a visual diary for you. Sometimes you forgot that, hey, you actually did this thing. Like the other day, Facebook reminded me that I took a propeller plane to Penang, and then just to have a bowl of noodles, right? So that was a memory they surfaced for you. So in another form, this live streams is going to be like that, right? It's a visual diary for myself. Over the next, I will definitely have things to remember. Okay, this is what I said, this is what I did, and so on, right? Like I kind of remember that I mentioned the very first girl that I had a teenage crush on. Hopefully she hasn't seen that video yet, but I didn't say anything bad about her. Yeah, she has actually taught me something. She was the first person to let me know what it's like to have to see the light, the sparkle in your eyes when you are in love with something. But unfortunately, that sparkle was not was not directed at me. It was directed at the whole shelf of books over in the library, right? Queenstown Library. So today we touched on step number 1, which is having something good to say, right? So maintain a healthy interest in life and people, right? And if you can, convert that interest into fascination, right? Even when you are frustrated, try and convert it to fascination. The third one is a bit harder, which is sensitivity. That means experiencing the both the good and the bad side of things. It's not about asking you to, I'm not wishing anything bad for anyone, right? But maybe go to a seedier side of town, or a more rundown part of town to kind of hear the stories of people, right? Like it reminds me of something that happened to me when I was a teenager as well, right? So like I said, I've never encountered these things before, but when I was 16, I found a part-time job at 7-Eleven, right? And I happened to find one that was in a pretty unsavory part of Singapore, right? Where the rumors were that there are a lot of gangsters and hostesses, and true enough. And because I had two objectives. I wanted to make as much money as I could during that 1 month break, right? And I kind of wanted to choose a time frame where I can avoid the manager. So in 7-Eleven, there are 3 shifts. You have the normal shift, which is from morning 7 to afternoon, and then from the afternoon to the night. And then the last shift is from late at night 11 to the next morning. So that's what we call the sunrise shift. Now, I always chose, nobody likes to do the sunrise shift because it's tiring. You don't sleep the whole night. But I liked it because number 1, the pay was higher. Number 2, the manager was not around, right? But it also let me experience the different side of human society. So there was one time, and this was my first encounter, and also taught me something about what is worth it and what is not worth it to do, right? Like what is worth your life and what is not worth your life. These 2 gentlemen came in. I call them gentlemen because actually they had a lot of nice inks on their hands everywhere. So you kind of know what kind of people they were, right? So they stepped in, and then they looked. I was manning the counter, and then they said, "Okay, this 2 packs of Marlboro, 2 packs of this, 2 packs of that." And also they ordered a lot of cigarettes. They basically were buying cigarettes. So we took it down and put it on the counter. They just swiped the whole thing, and they walked out. And they just walked out. And then me and my friend was like, "Hey, haven't paid for this, no?" And that was quite a bit of money. So we kind of dashed out, went after them, right? We ran out of the 7-Eleven, and then they were just casually walking. And when we ran out, 2 of them, but there was a lorry or truck full of their friends. Friends, you know what I mean by friends, huh? And the 2 gentlemen, they are more elderly. I think they were in their 40s or 50s at least. And at the time I was 16. And guess what they said to me? The guy just told me in Hokkien and said that, "Young man, how much are they paying you? Just go back. Just report police. Never mind. Just go back. Don't get yourself into trouble for nothing." And then I looked at my friend, and my friend looked at me, and then we looked at the truck full of big men, right? Many men. And we figured that, yeah, there's actually nothing much we can do, right? So it was a very interesting moment for us. So we said, yeah, okay. So we both walked back. And then obviously we did the usual thing. We made a police report. We reported it to the manager. And when he came in the morning, the manager kind of scolded us and said, why didn't you chase after them? And then two of us repeated the same statement that the gangster head said to us. We said, how much are you paying us for us to risk our lives like that, right? That was an experience. So that neighborhood is like that. So that is about sensitivity, because I experienced many interesting episodes during that short stint when I was there, right? So no need to join a secret society to experience those things. And of course, the last thing is knowledge. We have to work at getting new knowledge, so that we have working knowledge, like documenting your journals and so on. So I think this is my longest live stream to date, and we're only on step 1. I was thinking I was doing 4 steps. I think no way. So I looked at it as a content. There's no way you can do 4 steps. So yeah. So this is a very interesting topic for me, and I like what I said earlier. If you missed it, I've already experienced a benefit from this, because the whole intention of wanting to be a better speaker is causing me to want to live a more interesting life. Wonderful, right? I think it's wonderful, right? So once again, any of you who are keen on trying, in fact, tomorrow I'm doing I have friends coming over to my place. They want to check out the gear. They want to know about how to set it up. So I'm actually doing a in-person studio tour tomorrow. So that's the fun part about all these things that we are going through, right? So thank you for joining me on day 52. This is the second day in the second half of the 100-day challenge. I will see you tomorrow for day 53 and step number 2.